you very much, Councillor Waynette, Strawn Nelson. I know the Strawn, I wasn't so familiar with the Nelson. She's doing so well though as our Master of Ceremonies. My colleagues on the platform, ladies and gentlemen, comrades all, it's indeed a pleasure for us to host our fourth in this series of town halls in which we manifest our commitment to the principle of participatory democracy. We value the input, the dialogue, consultation that a forum like this provides for people who are interested in matters of development and matters affecting our beloved island of Jamaica. We are coming together at a time when there are reasons to think that our democracy is under threat. We see manifestations of the arrogance of power concentrated in those who hold it for its own sake. Remarks like, there's no need for an opposition, coming out of the head of government of the country. The idea that they will never surrender Jamaica to the PNP. A repeated comment actually by a senior member of the government, a cabinet minister. And then the institutional attacks that are undermining the fabric, the architecture of accountability that has been constructed since independence and was strengthened under the last People's National Party administration when we developed the Integrity Commission legislation and brought it to Parliament. And we see where there have been efforts over the last 2 years to dismantle it or neuter it, undermine its efficacy and its powers. And in the context of the incomplete investigation of the Prime Minister's own personal financial affairs and the whole question of the potential offense of illicit enrichment, where we have seen the appointment of somebody not qualified and somebody who has clearly manifested bias in favor of the Prime Minister in the very matter which the FID, which he has been appointed now to head, has to investigate, is tasked with investigating. And these are just the latest manifestations of a trend which included things like requiring senators to sign undated letters of resignation in order to have the sword of Damocles over their heads in the event that they didn't choose to follow a particular position that the Prime Minister wanted them to take, where we have seen the appointment of a Chief Justice being put on probation by the head of the executive branch of government, the rushed passage of the NIDS legislation despite major misgivings having been articulated by the opposition as to its compatibility with the rights of privacy and other rights under the Constitution, only to be forced to wheel and come again when we successfully took that matter to court, and the court threw out the entire legislation as being unconstitutional. And then, of course, the serial use of repeated states of emergency in an unprecedented fashion over a period of 6 or 7 years, with over 25 states of emergency declared during that period, again ruled by the Constitutional Court to have been an unconstitutional use of that power and a violation of the Constitution. So what is on the ballot in this upcoming election includes the very democracy, the very freedoms, the very constitutional order that has underpinned our way of life, our politics in this country. And we need to rescue Jamaica from those who are manifesting a capacity and intent to render it asunder. In addition to that, we are committed to strengthening good governance in the country. We are committed to strengthening the Integrity Commission, ensuring its continued independence from political interference, and providing additional tools which have been agreed in the past and which this government has reneged on its commitment to make part of our law. I'm thinking in particular of the mechanism of unexplained wealth orders, which was one of the things that was agreed to be a deliverable of the government under the Memorandum of Understanding, which gave rise to CMOC, the Crime Monitoring and Oversight Committee, in 2019, and which the government has refused to implement. We will be doing that. We will be pursuing the impeachment legislation, which was tabled as a private member's bill by yours truly. I didn't develop it. It originated from Bruce Golding when he was Prime Minister, but they never pursued it. And it was after that heinous incident of a member of Parliament caught on video with a stool beating up his woman in a car park, his lady in a car park, that I saw the need to bring some mechanism of accountability for that kind of behavior that would bring the office of a parliamentarian into disrepute. And I dusted off Bruce Golding's bill and I made some minor but important modifications, small I should say, but important modifications, and tabled it. And this government, despite it having been a commitment of the Jamaica Labour Party, a manifesto commitment in 2016, they have resolutely blocked it from moving forward. So we see the environment we're in, we see the threats to the democracy that the country is facing, and I use this opportunity again to call on all well-thinking Jamaicans, in particular those who may not be particularly interested in the politics of the country, may not find themselves allied to any political party, may indeed not have ever even voted, or haven't voted in a long time. This is your time to come and defend our way of life. This is your time to come and defend our democratic institutions and the freedoms that none of us should take for granted, which are now under threat. I wanted to just touch on a few of our policy and programmatic commitments that we will be pursuing when we form government, which by all accounts will be soon rather than later. We have gone through a decade in which, despite a boom in construction fueled by various economic factors, including the reduction of transfer taxes and stamp duties, the cheaper cost of credit, and the liberalizing of the planning laws around development. We saw a boom in the construction of houses in uptown areas, houses which were selling at prices which ordinary Jamaicans on salaries cannot afford. But there has been almost nothing done to construct affordable homes for the many thousands of Jamaicans who need access to affordable housing. And right now, for many young Jamaicans and many Jamaicans who are in salaried positions, but who find themselves part of the working poor or struggling middle class find themselves excluded from the possibility of owning a home. The People's National Party has always been committed to providing housing solutions for those who would otherwise not have the opportunity to own their own homes. And if you check our record, it's a strong one, from Harbour View to Mona Heights to Hope Pastures to many other schemes, Greater Portmore and many of the other Portmore communities, and of course Operation Pride, providing a mechanism for the regularization and the bringing of dignity to informal settlements, providing them with infrastructure, organizing them into community organizations, and putting in the titling mechanisms. Unfortunately, although some 50,000 titles were issued, there are several of those schemes which have not been completed, and this government has shown no inclination to complete them. And we are committed to completing them. We are committed to ensuring that they get their titles and the infrastructure to the extent that it is complete. And indeed, we are committed to rolling out solutions for informal settlements to bring them into the ownership category in the country, so that they can pass on wealth from one generation to the next and move themselves out of poverty into more dignified living conditions. We're also committed to building 50,000 affordable housing units in the first 5 years of the next PNP government. And in order to achieve this great challenge, we will be reverting the purpose of the National Housing Trust to that for which it was created in the 1970s by the illustrious former Prime Minister Michael Joshua Manley, where it becomes an important instrument of social engineering in the country to provide affordable homes to Jamaicans who would otherwise not have the opportunity to own their own homes. For some 12 to 13 years now, $11.4 billion has been taken out of the National Housing Trust each year to help fund the budget. It was originally implemented in order to achieve the targets under a very onerous and critical IMF program, but that was supposed to only last for 4 years. And the government of the day, of which I was part, was criticized heavily by the then opposition for doing this. They even took the matter to court through an affiliate and lost the case. Having come to office in 2016, they proceeded to bring legislation, not once but twice, to extend this for a further period of time, and it is still going on now. And of course, the impact on the Housing Trust has been significant. We see where the Housing Trust now has to outsource the funding of its loans, other than loans at the very lowest category. It has to outsource its loans to the private lending market and provide a subsidy to the private market for interest rates so that borrowers can get the rates that the NHT publishes. This, of course, is really further denuding the National Housing Trust of its resources, and this has to stop, and we're committed to stopping that so that the NHT can fulfill the mandate for which it was established. And we want to recapitalize the National Housing Trust. Having had all these resources taken from it, we want to recapitalize it with public lands that are suitable for housing, not agricultural lands. And then those lands can be developed, and we plan to provide purchasers with value, with equity in the purchase of houses built on those lands, because we will not include the land value in the price of the house. So the first time buyers will get the benefit of that land value without paying for it. We're also considering a number of very, I think, attractive proposals to help people become owners in the country. So we have our deposit program for first-time buyers who are members who have contributed to the National Housing Trust for at least 2 years, and up to age 35, that's where we have it at the moment. We may adjust it upwards, but that's where it is at the moment, where they will be able to access $500,000 as grant funding that they will not have to repay, out of a $1 billion fund that we will replenish annually, to provide them with the funding to help them to pay the deposit, the down payment on their first home. And this is because we are aware that the finding of the money to pay the deposit is one of the burdens one of the hurdles that first-time buyers struggle to overcome, and we have decided to provide this mechanism to help them. We also have the rent-to-own scheme, which would allow persons who may not have a pay slip and are therefore unable to prove their income and qualify for a mortgage to go into possession as a tenant of these houses, and if they are making their monthly payments, which will be fixed at the level that a mortgage payment would be, after a relatively short period of time, we're thinking of 6 months, we will treat them as having established proof of income sufficient to be eligible to draw down on a mortgage and move from being a tenant to being an owner of the home. And this will benefit all sorts of persons who are informally employed, self-employed, or employed in firms that are not well established and don't have the administrative arrangements to generate a pay slip for them. So these are some of the things that we want to do. We want to have a program called the Portia program, which is really looking at inner city communities and ensuring that communities, not just in the inner cities but across the island, which have conditions which are not in keeping with modern dignified living, we're going to look at improving them. Things like removing zinc fences, putting in adequate street lighting, proper sidewalks, especially for persons with disabilities, and so on. In honor of our much loved former Prime Minister and Party Leader, Portia Lucretia Simpson. In the area of healthcare, there is a crisis in the country. The Minister of Health is very skillful at public relations, but when you look at the actual conditions that our people face when they have to seek medical care in the public health system, the situation is quite deplorable. There are the long waiting times to be admitted to a bed for persons who are sick and need to be given a bed, where they have to be sitting in a corridor on a bench or in a chair for long periods of time. It's untenable. And then the machinery and equipment at the public hospitals is often not working because it's not been properly maintained. And we have operating theaters which are closed for things like mold, or because air conditioning units are not working or elevators are not working. All of the basics that are required to be looked at after and attended to, so that the ordinary Jamaican people who rely on the public health system have access to decent health care in conditions consistent with their integrity as Jamaican citizens. We intend to restore those and make those things back where they should be. We want to have a system of urgent care centers to ease the accident and emergency overcrowding in the major public hospitals, and have an island-wide system of urgent care centers where cases of trauma, injury, or stroke can get immediate attention to stabilize the patient, and then the patient can be moved to a proper hospital environment when their life is no longer in danger. And this will save lives. We want to roll out a national screening program for the main killers in our society: diabetes, which is sugar, hypertension, which is pressure, and of course cancer of a variety of types. We have a situation in Jamaica today where many people are walking around who don't know that they are diabetic, don't know that they have a problem with hypertension or pressure, or that they have cancer, which if treated early there would be a very good chance of complete recovery and also much lower costs of dealing with their illness. But because there's no proper screening system, it's often caught late when it's type 4 and it's metastasized into other parts of the body, and it's a struggle, and very expensive struggle as well for those people. So we want to have a national screening program to catch those situations early so they can be nipped in the bud and our people can be as healthy as possible. As I said here, healthcare is not a photo op. It's a promise, and we will deliver. I want to say a few words about the education system in the country, which is perhaps the deepest crisis we face. We know the data, the 18% of secondary school age students who end up with 5 subjects, including English and maths, meaning that 82% do not achieve even that basic standard. And we've seen recent reports of high school in Kingston. I won't even call its name because it is not unique. It is one of many high schools across the country with high levels of illiteracy in the school, 60–70% illiteracy. We have to deal with this situation. And we're looking, in doing so, we have to focus on early childhood development and primary school education. And raise standards. We have to raise standards in those schools where the standards are lagging. And we have to look at the training of our teachers and what it takes to ensure that that happens. And we have to look at the causes of some of this low performance, including absenteeism. And absenteeism is often driven by poverty, by parents or single parents being unable to afford lunch money, or in the case of rural Jamaica in particular, the cost of transportation to and from school for children. Which is why we have developed the EASE program, which will ensure that any child that needs that help will get at least one hot, nutritious meal at school every day that they attend school. And that's at primary and secondary school. We're starting with that, but we intend to also offer breakfast as well as resources become available and the economy improves. And in terms of rural transportation for schoolers, we have the RIDE program where we're starting with a subsidy to subsidize transportation costs for students up to 20,000 households initially, and we intend to move that number up dramatically as the economy allows us to pay for it. We also want to tackle intergenerational poverty by making it easier for students from lower-income families to attend college or university. One aspect of that is reforming the Student Loan Bureau so that some of the fear that people have in borrowing money to invest in their education can be eliminated. We do not think that the risk of poor economic conditions and a poor job market should be borne by our students. The state must bear that risk because it's our responsibility for delivering a strong economy. So if we intend to change the loan terms for student loan borrowers to cap their monthly payment at an affordable percentage of their actual income. And to the extent that they go through a period where they're not working and are unable to pay, they will have their payment obligations will be suspended without any penalties attached and tacked to the back end of their loan so that their credit is not damaged, and they can rest assured that once they're back on their feet and resume paying, they will be okay. We also intend to have remove taxes from digital devices for students and teachers, whether it be tablets or laptops, charging tax on these fundamental tools for learning in the country. And then we have the First in Family program. And the First in Family program is designed to tackle intergenerational poverty by saying that if you are the first person from your family to have qualified and seeking to attend university or college, any tertiary institution, the PNP government will give you a full scholarship so that you can attend and complete your tertiary education. And our idea there is that that student coming from that family will help to raise the standards, the conditions, the prospects of their loved ones and their family, and reduce the risk of poverty transcending from one generation to the next. Education is the antidote to poverty. And we want to encourage our teachers to stay in the Jamaican classrooms. And yes, salaries are an important component of that. And we intend to tackle that as best we can given the fiscal realities. But there are other things that we want to do to show our respect and honor our teachers. We want to, for example, have special arrangements where they are given priority when it comes to housing developed by any public sector agency such as the NHT. We want to also provide them with free internet access by having a bulk arrangement for teachers that we will negotiate with an internet service provider. And we want to give them attractive motor vehicle concessions, which increase in value the longer they stay in the system as teachers, and to reduce their student loan debt the longer they stay in the system as teachers by reducing their principal balance for each year of service. And these are some of our package of measures that we have come up with to make staying in the teaching profession more attractive. So, ladies and gentlemen, comrades and friends, our democracy must breathe. Our young people must believe. Our families must be able to live, work, and dream in Jamaica again. We are not here to beg for power. We are here to restore the balance, to put people before politics, and to say Jamaica deserves better. We are here to rescue Jamaica. Time comes.
I sat there taking notes, and I think it is imperative that I caucus this room to see if what resonated with me resonated with you. So I have a simple instruction. So I'm going to tell you what resonated with me, and you can respond with championing change if it resonated with you. Cool? So our leader just presented on housing solutions. 50,000 affordable housing units. Your response is championing change. We spoke about recapitalizing the NHT, and 1 second, you're early. And reverting the NHT back to its original mandate. The People's National Party is? We spoke about the rent-to-own program for the informally employed and otherwise unable to do so. The People's National Party. We spoke about health and education. The People's National Party. So you have just heard a powerful reminder that what's at stake here is bigger than any one person or party, because what's on the ballot is the future of Jamaica. So please give a round of applause to our leader of the opposition. So I have the pleasure of welcoming Dr. Andre Houghton, our next presenter.